I would request all the alumni who have connected with us through YouTube to drop their questions, if any, in the YouTube live chat box, which we will pick at the end. We, the guest lecture committee, brings you the 7th conversation under Careers and Conversation, an elite and exclusive platform to engage with eminent speakers from various fields, reflecting on their personal and professional journeys. This platform aims to provide valuable learning experiences through real-life insights for faculty, students, and alumni alike. Today, we delve into the theme of constant innovation to lead with a distinguished leader. I would request my co-host Ananya to introduce our esteemed guest.
Thank you, Padmini. It is an honor to host Mr. Kamlesh Rao, a visionary leader in banking and financial services industry. As the managing director and CEO of Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance, he drives the company's strategic direction, focusing on growth, profitability, and digital transformation. With over 25 years in BFSI sector, Mr. Rao has played a pivotal role in business expansion, financial model innovation, distribution efficiency, and customer-centric strategies. His extensive experience spans retail lending, mortgages, SME lending, HNI banking, and broking, with a remarkable 19-year tenure at Kotak Mahindra Bank, where he rose from management trainee to MD and CEO retail at Kotak Securities Limited. Beyond his corporate achievements, Mr. Rao actively contributes to industry advancements as chairperson of the Insurance Awareness Council and a member of key advisory committees for NSE, BSE, and SEBI's Secondary Market Advisory Committee. An engineering graduate and a management professional, his vision is to position ABSLI as the market leader in private life insurance. We are privileged to have him with us today. The conversation will be led by Arun Thukral sir, our guest lectures committee faculty head, a professor of practice in finance and lead corporate relations at KJ Somaiya Institute of Management. Before I hand over to Arun sir, I would like to invite our director, Dr. Raman Ramachandran, to felicitate our guest and briefly address the audience. This shawl is from Somaiya Kala Vidya and is hand woven by artisans from Kutch.
Come. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So this is woven by artisans from the Kutch region.
Okay.
Whom we also support as a part of. Got it? Yeah. And that's a biography of the founder. Thank you. You want me to address it? So, good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. It's always nice to see all the seats in the auditorium filled for the careers and conversation. Just to remind you, and more for Kamlesh Rao's information, this is an initiative that we started actually about 2 years ago. And this season, this is you're the 7th speaker. We have so far had 15 speakers. And the very specific reason why we do this is that I'm going to ask the students here, can you take a guess how many MBA students pass out every year in India? There are 3 lakh MBAs who pass out from India, right? How many get to the stage of where Mr. Rao is sitting? Handful of those MBAs actually end up as the CEOs. So the whole purpose of Careers and Conversation is getting an MBA degree is not a passport to being a senior leader. There's a lot of other things that happen, in between. The decisions that you take, the decisions that you don't take, the kind of characteristics, traits, and habits that you, inculcate, demonstrate. All this leads to actually somebody, kind of getting to that level of being a CXO or a CEO to run a large organization like Aditya Birla. And who best can you, you can read about this in books, but you will never really, learned unless you hear it from the horse's mouth itself. So that's the very purpose of this. And today I'm really delighted that we have you, Kamlesh, here to really share your journey, your experiences, and maybe some tips to our students. And of course, my dream is that each one of you in 20, 30 years' time, are heading an organization and having the same conversation with another group of people. So with that, thank you very much, and I really look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to hand over the stage to Arun, sir, to begin our session on constant innovation to lead.
Thank you, Ananya. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. So all of us are very excited to hear about your journey, your insight, your experiences. So hope life is treating you well, Kamlesh.
Except the Bombay traffic, everything else treats me well.
Good one. Okay, so when we start, I think the initial, few minutes you can spend telling us about your early days, maybe when you got into school, college, and decided a career, and whether you planned for this or a specific stream you wanted, or you just went into the flow. How's the journey? Just take us through.
So I'm born in a very humble background. I mean, we used to say in our family that if you don't sleep very early, then the place that you get to sleep will be closer to where we have the shoes in the house. I've still kept that house that I was born and brought up in to show my son, who is now 24, to say that, your dad was born and brought up here, and so far everything has gone right with him. Education was very important. I think that's been how we've all been brought up. All the brothers and sisters were brought up. Fortunate enough to get to a good school, good college. Engineering was a focus at that point of time. And then those were the years when, engineering followed by MBA used to be a great combination until Amir Khan in that Three Idiots movie, spoiled all the engineering MBA combination to say that bank mein hi kaam karna tha to engineering kyun ki types. But I think at college, I wasn't sure whether I was wanting to get into finance. I was a hardcore FMCG guy. Did my summers in Marico Industries. They packed me off to interior West Bengal, where the only mode of travel used to be on, either the top of the bus or. But it was a great experience. Finance happened to me accidentally. I still don't know why Kotak hired me on day one of my campus. But the rest has been a very, very enjoyable 30 years of financial services, 25 years in one company and 5 years now in the other. So I think life has been fair, life has been kind. Some work I have done, and I think lots of it I have got back in return.
Yeah, quite interesting. And you said you don't know why Kotak hired you, but you end up spending 25 years. So they loved you so much.
I still remember the group discussion, GD, all of you will get prepared. I mean, perhaps are doing, and people used to always, the IMS used to always advise us whether you're the first guy to speak or the last guy to. And I was a marketing major with a minor in finance, and my GD topic was interest rates in this country are coming down. And I didn't know definitely that I could not start. But I think I did well in terms of summarizing the entire discussion. And I had an offer from Wipro and ITC, but I chose Kotak, out of something that happened to me, and I said I'll start with financial services. But yeah, I love them as much as they loved me for the next 25 years.
I have seen that. I have spent some time with you, so I know those days. So whether it was a smooth journey to the top or there were challenges, can you recollect something?
I don't think it was a smooth journey for sure. I was lucky and fortunate that I was the 174th employee that joined Kotak. I still remember my employee number, which must be now in some whatever, 1 lakh or something like that. My early exposure of getting noticed was, when I had a contrarian view of the business that I was running. And I still remember the fact that During the time, fixed deposit rates got deregulated in India at that point of time. And those were the days when on a 1-year fixed deposit, you used to get 12% interest and there used to be some commission that used to get passed on. And when it got deregulated, because that time car loans were lent at 30% kind of return. So because it got deregulated, there was a great opportunity, and Uday thought that, Uday Kotak thought that there could be a great opportunity for us. So he called all the senior people, and I was invited into that meeting. I was told by my boss, "Ke muh nahi kholna, because otherwise you will marrow a self goal for all of us. So don't open your mouth." Always. So I said, "Okay." Then the meeting got over. He started asking everybody, "What do you think will happen?" And we used to do some 20-30 crores of business per month at that point of time. And my bosses were being cautious and said, 20 का 40 हो जाएगा, 40 का 45 हो जाएगा. I don't know why I got spotted, because I was sitting and I was told not to open my mouth, so I was very quiet. So he looked at me and said, "Young man, what do you think is your view?" अब बोला तो गया था कि बोलना नहीं है, ये नहीं बोला था कि पूछेगा तो बोलना नहीं है. So when the question was asked, I had a contrarian view and I said, "You will get about 200 crores." So he shook his head, in a fashion to say, मतलब इसको कुछ समझ नहीं रहा है क्या बोल रहा है and all that stuff. And there was a reason. I'm not getting into the details why I said what I said. That month we did 275 crores of collections, and that's when I remember I got called for a one-to-one chat with Mr. Kotak, and this was.
I think you're already getting an idea. An FMCG guy getting into finance and then doing this.
And that was when
Over-delivering,
I was
under-promise.
about 4 years in the company, 4 years, 5 years in the company. So, and then it's been a wonderful journey.
Any mentors on the way you could meet?
My current boss is my 14th boss in the last 30 years. So I worked with.
You are keeping account.
I'm keeping account. I kept account because my 12th boss told me I love cricket. So he said, "Oh, I'm your 12th man." So because I remember that, I remember this is 14th right now. But I think along the way you have to pick up mentors for sure, because there's a limitation to what you can do. There's also a merit in what you get picked up for, what people tell you. The great thing about mentors is they are able to tell you the truth. They're able to tell you what you're not doing right. And I had a few of them along the way, starting from my first boss, Mr. Krishna Kumar, and a lot of them over a period of time. But I think you got to spot the right kind of people as mentors. Somebody that you can relate to, associate to. It's like, I don't know, we used to have our professors in college where we used to relate to, and we would go and talk and have conversations there. I think mentors definitely play a huge role in shaping up who you end up turning out to be.
Great. So you worked in bank for quite a long time, and then broking when we were together, and now insurance. So what are the unique challenges of your current industry? Like insurance, everybody is selling, overcrowded, lot of players. So what is the trend?
So I think that my trajectory has been that every 5 years or 6 years I would have wanted to move into something new. I ran the unsecured loan business and went into SME, then went into HNI banking, then broking. And I had no prior exposure of anything that I did when I went into the new place. It allowed me to get the butterflies in the stomach all over again. There are a lot of people who choose, and I'm not saying what is right or wrong. That's not the point I'm making. There are people who start a particular career in the area and then they make sure that they are in that for 15, 20, 30 years. And my path was different. I said I'd like to get into something. I like getting into something, scaling it, making it large. And then when I know what I have done is good enough, I have understood this at the back of my hand, I want to try something new. And that's been my trajectory. Insurance, life insurance specifically, after being in for 25 years, I spent 25 years in Kotak. Life insurance has been my most humbling experience. You come with an ego that you spent 25 years, you understand, business all over again. And life insurance crashed my ego, whatever little I have, to say, your learning has started all over again. I don't think there's anything more comprehensively complicated than life insurance business. And India is just about 25 years for private life insurers. And I mean, the older daddy is the LIC, which is there for longest possible period of time. But it's been good learning. It's been, excellent learning. Complexities of the business are very, very different. You are basically committing people what return you will give them 30 years later, 40 years later. So it has the complication of actuarial science, it has the complication of modeling, it's the complication of risk both on mortality as well as on financial risk that we do. I have a 25,000 crore book which is interest rate sensitive, so it has interest rate sensitive stuff that we do. It has the AUM, we just crossed 1 lakh crore, so it has the AUM of a mutual fund. It comes with large people. We are a 15,000 people organization, so it's again large scale. So it perhaps has the combination of everything that you can wish for. I like data, I like numbers, I like modeling, and these days I am like focused on digital, AI. I wrote to Meta just now on the way to the car to say, if I'm going to address management students, what would they like to hear? And pop comes the reply in terms of what they'd like to hear. I started doing that about 2 years back. And we hire a lot of people from different colleges, including Lead, LBS, those kind of stuff, and I go to talk about. And then when I write, I realized that 2 years back when I used to write, and whatever reply I used to get, nothing was there in my presentation which they wanted to hear. Because people are used to making, selling yourself and talking about what you do, but maybe the students today want to hear more about what's happening in data analytics and so on and so forth. So that transition to me happened in broking. You've done that, Arun. So I first thought I was CEO of a broking company that needed to learn technology. And I think in the last 3 years of my job, I redefined my role as CEO of a technology company that, by the way, delivers broking as one of its products. And I think those 3 years are much more successful than the first 2. And that's what I continue doing.
So tech has changed our lives.
Yes.
Maybe as you rightly said that you are heading a tech company, they also do broking or insurance or
yes,
whatever.
Absolutely.
And one more thing which is coming out is, which I think the student would take it, that every few years you were learning something and getting into a new area.
Yes.
So I think that is what the theme of most of our leadership talks, even the last speaker also had the same thing, learning, mastering and beyond. So specific challenges, if I talk little more about insurance is, so one of the challenge and one of the thing people talk about is sometimes mis-selling. Sometimes people sell insurance as
now we have, but insurance does not have a campaign like that. Yeah? So there is a misnomer that we are a death company in the sense that we take care of people when they die. But you must know this, that for every 100 rupees that we pay out every year, all companies put together, only 9 rupees is paid for death. The balance 91 rupees we actually pay people who are living. So we are as much part of the financial allocation business that you do on savings as compared to anybody else. Of course, we have, for everything that we do, we have a cover for if something goes wrong, which is required as per 1010D. But we are an investment company as much as a risk management kind of company. Coming to your question on mis-selling, there is this misnomer. I don't think it's a misnomer. It's the right thing that a lot of insurance is sold and not bought, essentially, and that's where when you sell and people don't buy is where mis-selling happens. About 55% of the entire private industry life insurance business comes through banks. Banks are corporate distributors, and that's how they source business for us. And banks have huge amount of data. Okay, and I'll spend some time on data and models that we look on. See, previously data models used to be MIs. They say what happened is what the data model used to tell you. Yeah, and then you got to move to the next phase to say what will make it happen. Yeah? The third phase of the data model is to say how will you make it happen, which is more real time and actionable. And the last one is to get to say how will you make it happen real time. And I don't know, you may be perhaps better knowledgeable at Gen AI than I am. But the way I look at Gen AI sitting on some of these models is to basically say, some of the Gen AI models are, like Alexa. At my age, I often joke that she is the only woman who now listens to me. because whatever I tell her, she at least plays back in that sense. But she can only listen and do what I am asking her. She can't think, okay? She can't get my mood. So I may say I'm not in a great mood and play some music, I don't know whether Alexa will respond, right? But Gen AI is supposed to move to that, to the next level to say, can I understand the mood of what is happening, which is what we put in our contact center today. So whilst we put a bot to make sure that 63% of our customer calls which come in are answered by a bot, we also have a technology for the bot to be able to sense that based on the conversation that is happening, it looks like this person on the other side wants a human being to intervene. And that's when the call handoff happens to a human being. You try Swiggy, okay? And people who use Swiggy, you try and get to the contact center of Swiggy. I mean, they've built it in a fashion that nobody needs to get to. But if you have to reach, it's a Herculean task, okay? Because the bot only replies standard questions. I got a wrong order at one point of time, and my wife dumped it because it was not our order, somebody else's food came. Now you want to complain to Swiggy, it will say, take a picture. The picture is in the dustbin. So you can't take a picture. But if you can't take a picture, it doesn't know how to respond. Yeah? Because it stays only with that conversation. So those are otherwise issues with bots. So what we do on data models which we have reached is, suppose HDFC Bank is our partner. We now tell ourselves that our data model should be such that I should know more about the customer than the customer knows about himself. Okay, about 2 years back we were happier knowing about the customer as much he knew about himself. These days we have moved to say we should know more. So based on the data, transaction banking data, based on what we work, based on CIBIL data that you have, we now know which are the 2 products that should be bought by that customer and not sold by me. Okay, we call it pre-approved, whatever, sum assured. It now sits in the net banking section of the HDFC Bank customer with a fully enabled digital journey to say when you go there and you want to buy insurance, we will show you the right products that you should buy, not the ones that make higher margin for me.
The suitability matrix
is fully taken care of based on multiple transactions. We work with a data tool. There's something called Cartesian, which works on what they call genomes. Genomes is about breaking maybe this whole into different cohorts because none of them will be similar, and then try and talk to different cohorts differently. Yeah? That's the whole principle of genoming. So we do that, and based on that, we get the right kind of products that kind of come in. We post it on the net banking side. Even if my sales guys want to sell it, they can sell only those 2 products. Those data models have reached the accuracy of about 7.2 out of 10 customers actually end up buying one of the 2 products that we create. Our complaint ratio, that is today, by the way, close to 38% of the business that we do with HDFC Bank, and the complaint ratio in that portfolio is 0 for the last 3 years. Wow. 0 for the last 3 years. Yeah?
I think that's what technology is doing.
That's what technology, I mean the amount of stuff technology is capable of doing is just unimaginable. Yeah, I don't know, I learned Canva much later because making presentations is so much more easier. My son taught me that at some point of time. But my learning from kids of 25 and 30, okay, when I walk into a digital meeting room today, average age of that place would be about 28, 29, 30. I walk in with an intention to learn, not with an intention to tell. Because if I go with an intention to learn, I'm sure I'll be able to pick up a few things which will be beneficial for me. Because I have to tell myself that even today at my place, if I am not going to learn this, I will also become redundant very quickly.
So kids are reverse mentoring us.
Reverse mentoring us, absolutely reverse mentoring us. Yeah, and the kind of stuff I understood Copilot of Microsoft tool, and Microsoft is a brilliant model. I mean, these days the cost of licenses is higher than the cost of the laptop that you buy for sure. But in a Copilot, I get a complex presentation, I write some stuff, feed it to the Copilot, it gives me a better synopsis than what my EA is capable of doing after 4 hours. It pops up a synopsis for me in...
So the life is easier or not easier? Sometimes information overload or technology overload. So what is the advice to them? So they have all the tools available today, which we never had.
Yeah. So I get worried about that.
Yeah. So
maybe
little bit on that.
If you ask me that question, so I just think that, make sure when you take any output which you want to use, the input is right. Because if the input is not right and you get an output out of it, which is where the data model is extremely important. Because if you get it from OpenAI, you want to get from DeepSeek, you want to get from something else, because all of them will perhaps have a different answer to the same question that you raise. And Perplexity has a way to be able to make sure it chooses. Yeah? It's like your payment lounge that you build, which depending on whichever card, it will make sure that your success ratio is higher. The worry that I have is, how much of, a lot of people ask me this, will people lose jobs? Yeah? Or will jobs become lesser? I don't think any of that is going to happen. I don't think jobs will only be more, and I don't think people are going to lose job. But I'll lose mine for sure if I don't embrace AI. I don't make it a way of my working. The guys down the line will even lose more if they don't embrace. But are they thinking enough? That's my only question, because the application of the mind is as important as the data that you get out of it, because data is like searching on a Google page, right? It will give you a list of options from where you think you can get your best answer. Your ability to be able to say which one is giving me the right answer is as important. And if that will become lesser and lesser over a period of time, what has stood India apart is that we are not just process oriented. We were not as well process oriented, but we used our Jugadu brain, much better. I mean, I just ask the younger generation not to lose their Jugadu brain for sure. You have the brilliant advantage of corroborating your Jugadu brain with, the ability to be able to get the same answer and try and match it. Don't lose that and just go by what is being said, and that could be a loss of innovation for so many more years to come. You guys are the future of where this industry economy will go to. So I think your ability to, the tools, like you said, are significantly more available to you. So please embrace it. It's like beautifully available to you, but thoda sa जुगाड़ी brain को घिसना is as important as the technology that you use.
And you spoke about innovation and collaboration. So innovation, so insurance, every company is offering the product, the same, whatever protection plan you have or term policy or endowment. So how do you innovate? How do AVSLI has some product which is better? How do you differentiate? And how do the people or teams collaborate within the organization? Because you said you have 15,000 people. And what is your leadership style? What kind of culture in the organization? Little bit on that.
So I think collaboration is key. I mean, for us, we started the path of working on what we called agile models a few years back. And I had to tell myself that I am the biggest obstacle for execution of the agile model. My team, the people that work with me. Today we don't have people who sit by their roles. Okay, people sit in our technology and operations teams by, so if there is a full cubicle of say 10 seats, those 10 people are solving a customer problem. So there are people who sit from operations, from digital, from risk in that same pod, which we call, and they solve a particular customer problem. Like that, we have about 15, 20 problems to solve at any points of time. So even the structure is in the same fashion. That helps us to try things faster. We try, we fail, we change, and so on and so forth, and that's the method of agility. Our product ideas get originated like that. Okay, when we get into focus customer group discussions, qualitative feedbacks that we get, and at digital touch points, we always leave a customer with a choice to tell me more, and we collate that and bring it back. I'll give you some examples. Okay, I came from a bank, and insurance. If you're a fixed deposit customer, which is not very small in India, it's a large part of the investment pie. You can't get more than a 3-year fixed deposit or at best 5-year fixed deposit, whereas insurance can offer you a 20-year fixed deposit. Yeah? So we created a fixed deposit product to get away from insurance, to say I have a fixed deposit. So if you're thinking of fixed deposit for 3 and 5 years, you want to go to the bank, it's okay. But if you think longer, I can provide that to you. Insurance used to have this problem that you basically invest with insurance for about 10, 15 years, and you start getting benefit after 20 years. We were the first guys 2 years back who created a product where you said, you start paying me now, I start paying you by the end of the year. So your benefit starts immediately in the same year as your premium starts getting in. We created a modification of that product. It's a product which is simplistically saying you pay me 1 lakh rupees for whatever 10 years. Depending on your age, I can end up paying you 40,000 rupees for the next 40 years. Now the IRR of this product would be about give or take 6%. Yeah? And because it is tax-free, adjusted for tax, it would be about 9.2%. It is not a bad return for an asset class. Now we said the benefit that I am paying you, you have two options. I can take it to your bank account, or you can create an SIP out of that product, which means the 10 years that you will pay, I will give you a benefit which will be guaranteed, which will earn you a 9.5% return adjusted for tax. And that product can create a 40-year ULIP product for you, which is a SIP product for you, which can be a market-linked product. So you can get the benefit of both the guarantee and the ULIP. Protection, like you said. People buy, younger people like us when we were younger, we would take a term cover of 50 lakh rupiah, whatever. Something happens, lump sum will go. The problem is when something happens to you and the beneficiary gets the money, she doesn't know what to do. He or she doesn't know what to do with it. And bad investment advice always goes to people who have lump sum money. Somebody will say land mein dal do, property mein dal do, double ho jayega, and so on and so forth. So we converted the whole protection business to say, don't leave behind for somebody 2 crores if something happens to you. Leave behind 20 lakhs of income every year for the next 30 years. So we changed the protection landscape by saying, don't buy sum assured, but buy income protection for the family for the next 20 years or 30 years time frame. And some of these have done very, very well. I mean, we are the fastest growing life insurance company for the last 2 years time frame. It has done very well for us standing with various banks. The regulator recognizes us for doing some of these things. But I think everything comes from customer insight, and the ability. So when I go to my distributors, I get introduced. She introduced me very nicely just now. It was a long one, but I get introduced as the CLO of the company, and not as the CEO. My role in the distribution forum is called the Chief Listening Officer.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, and if you listen to the company, if you listen to your distributors, I think your ability to run the company becomes significantly better.
So because I was about to ask you about the client engagement framework, whether it's an internal client, which is your employee, or outside client.
Yes.
And you said, if you're chief learning officer, I think that is the answer.
Yes, because listening and learning, I think, are correlated very, very strongly. And customer expectations keep changing, regulator keeps changing things which are, and all regulators today, whether it is RBI, whether it is SEBI, whether it is RDA, if you look at everything that has changed in the last 2-3 years time frame, and if you look at what is the largest reason behind whatever change they bring in, will always be the customer in mind, which is the regulator's single largest focus right now, and I think it's fairly so.
Yeah. So you are a CEO now, you were a CEO earlier. So how do you keep yourself updated? So you have reached at a place. So normal impression is now you are the boss. Do you still have to upskill yourself? Do you still have to learn? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I keep telling myself that there's somebody who's getting ready for my job for sure. Okay, and if I don't build a team like that, then I don't think I'll be doing my job well. Every 5-6 years when I have moved out, a lot of people, because you asked something about leadership style, a lot of people when they leave the company and that company doesn't do well, or their business does not do well, they say, "Dekh, main chala gaya, to gir gaya." My view has been, when that happens, is because you didn't build it well. You didn't build the foundation of that company well. When you look back at what you have left behind, if that is doing even better, then I think you can take some credit for the fact that you built a foundation of that reasonably well. So that's something that I believe in. I learned that from Mr. Kotak. He said if the organization that you build can't outlive you, then you haven't done building in that organization.
You have to create more leaders. And that's what we were discussing.
Yeah.
I was discussing with our directors at some time back the same thing.
Yeah, you have to create more leader. And I think, you have to always also believe that a great company is not because it has a great CEO. Okay, that doesn't make the company great. Yeah? And if I have to tell myself that if my leadership style is X, then everybody around me will have to adapt to my leadership style. I think the beauty of being at the top is to say, can I adapt my leadership style to the people that I work with? Because I work with head of sales, I work with head of actuarial, I work with head of treasury, investments, and all of them are different, right? Because they think very, very differently. So can I be a force multiplier to them so that if I am able to adapt to their styles, those 10 people can do significantly more than what I can do. And if that keeps percolating to the next level, and those 10 people run that with the next 50, 60 people, and like that it goes around the organization, then I think you can create a really great large organization. But learning, I'm telling you, it's been a constant journey. I take courses. I have, at least in the last 2 years, taken about 3 or 4 courses on data modeling, courses on AI. I've learned Python. I can write a code. Of course, Gen AI has made it very easy these days. I don't know if you want a campaign for Somaya. Yeah, I don't have my laptop here, but if you want to do a campaign for Somaya, and director, and you can think through what is it that you want to tell the world at large as to what has Somaya done, and you want to show a background of a particular type, you want to show a background scenario of a particular time. If you prompt it well, in seconds you will get your advertising campaign on the screen with the models, and with the assurity that those 2 models or 3 models which are featuring in your ad, there is nobody in the universe that looks like those 2 people. So you don't have any copyright, or so I get worried about the modeling guys' loss of job as time progresses. But for even marketing, there are tools available which you can do this if your prompting is right. If you that's like coding in a simplified fashion, the output it generates is out of the world.
Yeah. I think the questioning skills which we were earlier taught, because they said strategy is about asking questions, not answers.
Yes.
And now I think everybody is talking about that the right prompt
will give you amazing results.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so before I get into some questions from the student, your take on the budget, because budget, some people are saying it's a dream budget, and your income tax limit, and you know markets, you have been a master of markets. So maybe your take on the markets and your take on the budget and what's happening and what is happening in US, volatility. So a little bit on that. So give us an overview. What is your thought?
So last 2 years, my learning has been expect the unexpected. That's been I've been telling myself, because a lot of discussions happen and a lot of people will come back and say, ye nahi hoga. Because it's too detrimental, for the growth or prospect of the industry. And I don't think like that. I think that you have to be ready to expect the unexpected. I think the budget is, for the year, is a continuation, and the best part I like about it is the consistency of the thinking process. Yeah. At different points of time, there would be element of saying the government will drive the capex and the economic of the country. I think from there it has shifted to say whether the money in the hands of the customers can drive consumption and economy of this country. Tax rates have got better. Certain industries would have got relative kind of benefit. But sometimes not having any negative in the budget also makes it very significantly positive. Yeah, so I don't think on fiscal deficit, if we are on our path, on the current account deficit, if we are on our path, because for a country like India, that is extremely important. I heard Uday say this at some forum to say, why is US such a large dominating economy when it also has fiscal deficit? Yeah? It's not that it is a non-deficit economy. And therefore, my worry is lesser in India than outside. If you ask me about markets, I think when market crossed 22,000 on the Nifty, I thought it was overvalued. And not that I wanted it to come down, but now at whatever levels, I think it is reasonably more. But it will take India another year and a half to go back on the growth trajectory again. I don't think we are seeing EPS growth and earnings growth of double-digit kinds that we saw in the last few years. I don't think in the next 1.5 years, but maybe after that you may see some. The biggest worry the world has to have is the man at the top in the US. I get worried because you are recording it, but I am saying I don't know whether he shorts. I don't know whether in the morning as he gets up, whether he shorts the market or longs the market and then decides what to say. But I have heard some of these leaders. I've been fortunate to kind of have personal interactions with the Theresa Mays of the world or the Boris Johnsons of the world and Hillary Clintons of the world, because Mr. Birla organizes some of these events where you get a chance to speak. I cannot make up my mind whether a great businessman is a great politician or no. Okay, and that's who he is. I think he's a brilliant businessman. He understands business at the core. He's built it that way. I was telling somebody I saw Oprah Winfrey show of this same guy, about 40 years younger or 35 years younger, okay, at that point of time. And I think it was pretty authentic. And there he was asked this question, and he was talking at that point of time about the fact that, why is Japan making so much money out of us? Because at that point of time, Japanese TVs, VCRs, cars were very, very dominant. He spoke about tariffs at that point of time. He was asked the question whether he'd ever run for president. He said he will not, because he thought it was a useless job. But at the last question he was asked is, if you think you'll get a nomination, do you think you'll win? And like he looked at her and said, I don't do anything unless I'm sure I'm going to win. And I mean, that's the Donald Trump that we see now, not of that point of time. So I think there'll be a lot of volatility. He will add to the volatility in the markets. But if you see all the leadership patterns which are there across the entire world, which are succeeding, whether it is the Putin in Russia, or whether it is Trump, whether it is Modi in India, I think some similarities in the way countries run is kind of emerging. We are all looking forward to his visit to the US and what will emerge out of that. Because I believe they are good friends. So I am hoping that the impact on tariffs can be crazy. There's a lot of data which you see in domains right now that if US goes on the tariff path a little too aggressively, on a long-term basis it's going to impact more US than anybody else in the world. And that's something that they got to watch out for sure. And therefore, as long as the world has free trade, as long as the people at the top ensure that the free trade gets encouraged significantly, I think the world will be in a significantly better position than where we are. Did I lose this?
Yeah, now you're okay.
Okay. So I think the ability to make sure that free trade continues across the world is a very important metrics for growth of the world and definitely for India.
But anyway, volatility is good for you because you are an insurer and you have a long, buy long and keep it. You are happy. Normally you always keep getting money.
Yeah, but when volatility is there for a very long period of time, then it hurts.
Then it hurts because
everything.
You have to pay.
Yeah, then it hurts everything. But like I said, I pay only 9 or 10 rupees for death. I pay the balance 90 rupees for, so it's important.
That I would remember. Okay, so last question. Your work-life balance, because you are doing so much, you are studying, you are innovating, you are collaborating. What else you do other than your work? What are your hobbies? That side also they would want to know.
My own definition of work-life balance and my 24-year-old son's definition of work-life balance is different. But we agree. We agree to disagree and live in harmony under the same roof. I've always said that good work is the greatest balance in your life. Okay, because you spend good 8, 10, 12 hours, I don't want to quote 90-hour week for sure.
So otherwise you will be viral.
I will get into a
Be very careful what you say.
I'm just saying good work is the greatest balance in the life. So whatever you do, it's important to enjoy. Yeah, I tell people that if you get to a place, I travel a lot. I travel at least about 8 to 10 days a month. Wherever I travel, I always make it a point to meet the people who have just joined the organization.
So this is all business travel? Or you
this is business. This is business.
Pleasure with business?
No. I'll come to your personal question. So you make sure you meet people who have joined new, because everything that you say, that this is the organization, this is the culture I've built and so on and so forth, if it is not experienced by the new guys who join in the first 3 months, then everything is a hogwash. So I think those are important. I meet people who perform very well and I meet people who don't perform very well, to make sure what is it that the organization not doing to make sure that they can perform very well. I love my work, but I don't miss my gym every day. I'm about at least 6 days a week I'm in the gym. If I have to travel, whatever else is there in my bag, my gym shoes will always be there in my bag. I watch a movie every weekend. I'm the first day, first show kind of guy.
Oh.
It's like a Friday night or a Saturday night movie. There are times where 2-3 movies, abhi nahi hota, pehle hota tha. I have watched 3 movies back to back on a Saturday to make sure I am in touch. My iPad has, there I can compete with these guys because my iPad has,
That's why I wanted,
My-
because they all think that if you are CEO, you are only working.
my iPad has all the latest Netflix, Disney and Amazon serials.
They are loving it.
So they may, my taste and their taste could be different, but I am saying at least all the latest ones. And whenever I am traveling, I am watching that on my iPad. I play squash, I play badminton, I play TT. I am like the 40 plus intercorporate TT champion for a few years.
I think you can have a match with our director. He is also a good player.
So we play a cricket tournament.
We'll invite you again.
We play a cricket tournament every 3 months in the company. We have about 6 teams. We play every 3 months. We hire a ground. We play floodlight cricket. Of course, we play tennis ball and not season ball. And I take my holiday once in a year always. 20 days I am off. I enjoy my holiday. The only thing is at the end of the holiday on my flight, there's one happy face and 2 sullen faces. One is of my wife and one is of my son before he started work. And they don't like the fact that, I look happy because the holiday is over.
Good one.
And I tell them that I don't know what's wrong with you. I had a great holiday, I was happy, and I'm looking forward to going back to work. That's why I'm happy. And maybe that's the kind of life one should have. So
I think Warren Buffett talks about this, that I enjoy my work. I am paid to do whatever I want to.
yes. And if you don't enjoy it, don't work in that place. Don't work in that line, don't work in that industry. I mean, there's sufficient jobs available. You have to find one of your liking. And if you don't feel like coming to office on a Monday after a Sunday, then I don't think that's a place for you. I mean, then I think you would start thinking of what next you want to do in life.
Yeah. They love all organization. Aditya Birla Sun Life also. So we'll come back. Any questions now? I think time for questions. Yes, give it to her.
Good evening, sir. I mean, it's been a pleasure listening to you, and I think the best thing was the flow you've charted for your entire conversation, and your little one-liners were really witty. So, my name is Chelsea Mascarenas, and I'm a second-year student. Now, my question is a little to do with change management. So, like you've mentioned, the moment you feel like you've done your best in a particular domain, you want to pivot and move on. Now, if you're faced with a situation where you're really invested into the project, but things are not going the way you've planned, so what are your top 3 tips to pivot and manage that change?
I'm a firm believer that what you set out to achieve, you have to achieve. Yeah. So I don't have in my whatever dictionary anything which says that I won't get to where I want to get. But in a team that we work, the encouragement is, if you want to kill yourselves in this room, kill yourselves in this room. Yeah? And all disagreements are fine. Yeah? But when we walk out of this room, there is only one thing that we are going to execute and implement. And that ain't changing. Now, during the course of what we are doing, if something calls for a change, then it is fine. It's like my technology guys don't like me because I believe that everything in the business you should build passionately, but technology you should not build passionately. Because if you build technology passionately, you fall in love with it. And then if I tell them that something else has to change, the guy will come and say, I'll put a patch to it. Yeah? Whereas the world is creating such world-class solutions to customer issues, we've moved to saying, I'll just focus on the core of my business, which is the risk. And everything else we co-create with partners outside. So unless there is a reason to change, we won't change the path for sure, but we will find alternatives. Okay,
You
I keep telling my team that all of us at the top are part of the solution, we are not part of the problem. So the part of the problem comes from below, and as you get more and more senior, you are supposed to be the part of the solution. But parallelly, to answer your question, if people at a senior level will come to me these days and say, this is the problem, okay? So I also listen, and I don't comment after they have finished. And it took some time for the firm to realize that what I am telling them is, when you come to a problem, you are the head of the business or head of risk or whatever, come to me with a list of what do you think are the possible solutions. I am happy to engage with you to tell you what is the right solution that we can walk into collectively, but you can't finish the problem because, I mean, you understand that part really well, you are the expert, you've stated the problem, but also give me a list of possible solutions. Long answer to your question, but like I said, if you set out for something that you want to do, I don't think we ever kind of roll it back. But in today's method that we do, which is where we work on agile, we don't fix the end goal. Yeah? We started a prospecting tool on insurance, and we didn't have the entire 20 features that we thought through. We said first 3 are important. We put the first 3 in place, and then based on the feedback that we kept getting from distributors and customers, we developed the 4th and the 5th and the 6th and the 7th. We didn't define the 20 that we needed at point 0. That also kind of helps in doing what we think is right for the organization and the distribution at large.
Thank you so much, sir.
Good evening, sir. I am Neeraj. My question is regarding the policy that the talk that Nirmala Sitharaman ji had during the budget 2025, and she continued that the high value budget, the tax slabs will remain as it is. So given that the life insurance penetration is low in India, and given that it is also now taxed, what are your views on this, and what can be done to?
So the year in which she launched the tax, I was part of the delegation that went to represent, to say that see, India is a country where you have 5% inflation. Yeah. So the real interest rate you will get is only when you get something higher than 5%, right? Otherwise, every year, what 100 rupees can buy you, next year it will be 105 rupees required to buy the same thing. So while she was and taxation used to be something that given to life insurance companies, not just in India, even outside large part of the world, because we are the only industry that is able to offer to the customers something which is available for 30, 40, 50 years. You don't have to worry about this, but say I have to start getting worried about annuity because I have say 10 more years to work or 12 more years to work and so on and so forth. What will happen to me post that? The only solution that you can have is with an insurance product that can do the annuity. And therefore, for certain products at least, the exemption is right. For certain products, maybe the exemption is not right. She said HNIs are using it wrongly because if you can get 9.5% return, it could be a debt asset class considered, but no debt asset class offers you 10 times of your premium as death benefit. So that is the bigger benefit that we were offering. But we lost that battle. Okay, but we tried very hard. Okay, I was told by the committee, her whatever left hand, right hand, to say, "Abhi aur baat mat karo, nahi to aapko bahar fek denge" types. Okay, but like I said, I'm very high on persistency. It is I want to go out of the room saying I tried. Okay, and the other thing we asked was to say, give me indexation. But at least in a country where there is again the 4-5% inflation, and I am giving you a benefit over 40 years time, at least allow the guy to do the indexation. Because if you do the indexation at that rate, it becomes again, that point got bought very, very well, and then from the FMO office we got representations, we wrote everything and so on and so forth. And then we waited when the 1st April, everything comes back. And to our surprise, rather than giving indexation to us, it got removed from the mutual funds. Now, my principle in life has been that never go out of a meeting, place, discussion, friends, family, whatever, without asking what you have to ask. Ab milega nahi milega, ye to yaar, that you can't do much. But for the 3 years prior the regulation changed, the industry was growing at about 11%. For 1 year when the new regulation came, the industry grew at 3%. currently after the tax, and we have settled in fully, the industry is growing at about 19%. So we have also hopefully adopted. India is a place where they say your sense of ecology is very high. You adjust with the changing environment. So we've done a lot of stuff where the industry is growing at about 18-19%. Our company is growing at about 40% this year. So we learn new ways of trying to get over the so-called obstacle created, rightful, wrongful, no debate. We presented, asked for a representation, nahi hua, koi baat nahi, move on.
Yes, there, hand there, there. ये तीनों लोगों का हाथ खड़ा है.
Good evening, sir. So, as you said, you joined Kotak, you joined Aditya Birla Capital in the close to the end of 2019, and then suddenly you had the pandemic hit, which must have been a very different and a volatile adaptation which you had to do.
COVID experience.
Exactly. Now, my question to you is that what are the biggest customer expectation changes you've seen, especially when you had you had 25 years in Kotak Mahindra with a lot of sectors, and then you entered life insurance, and then you had something like COVID hit. What are the customer expectations which you see which have changed, especially post the pandemic within the BFSI sector, and what are the trends you are expecting to see 5 years down the line, especially after this big change which has been gone through in our life?
So life insurance, very easily when I came in, was perhaps the most digitally backward industry in BFSI. Because by which time banks on payments, banks on cards, banks on lending had done a very good job. And the health insurance company used to do a far better job. So I think what changed for life insurance companies is suddenly everything had to be digital. Sales process had to be digital. Arun asked this question on mis-selling, which is a big question mark in this industry. That changed because everything had to be delivered digitally. Today we don't use any application form. We don't send any illustrations on paper. It all is delivered digitally. And therefore in the last 5 years, complaint ratio of the industry has become half. For some of the better guys has become 1/4, when the industry is growing at about 14-15%. So on a significantly higher growth, the complaints are going the other way around. So that's one change that came in. Customer expectations, I keep saying this, that the thing that COVID helped, because of course a lot of people lost their near and dear ones. So, but I think, they say that a true character of an individual or that of the company is most demonstrated in a difficult time. Yeah? And this generation, I don't know how much you complain about COVID, but we should be happy that we got to see the 1 in 100-year scenario. Not many people can say that. The last guys who saw it was in 1914. I don't want to see it again, that is also fine, but at least the chance that I got to see it is also an experience. Yeah? And we paid claims 5 times the amount, 6 times the amount, 10 times the amount, and no government, no bank had to bail us out. So we stand on our legs, delivering the full promise that we will pay at any point of time, we will pay the money. I think we got a chance to stay put on that promise in the year of COVID. So I think that increase the credibility for life insurance companies. Expectations from customers and companies is a little, chicken and egg kind of scenario. The expectation from the company is that if you do full disclosure when you buy what you buy, your experience when you claim what you claim will be absolutely hassle-free. Yeah? And in India, whilst everything is moved digitally, health records are still not available digitally. Yeah, so of course the new Ayushman Bharat program is a move in that direction. But like we have a CIBIL score, which is a financial worthiness score, if we are able to port all the medical data whenever you do your test into a repository, and through APIs I am able to pluck it out, of course with customer consent when he buys a policy, I think the whole experience of what the customer wants will change completely. What we are working on, and I think that's the proof of the pudding, is to say, if I buy a policy, I'm buying it for my wife and my son. If I bought that 10 years back and something happens to be 20 years back, I don't know that they know what to do to make a claim. Yeah? So we are working on a method right now to be able to put into the hands of a nominee what the nominee will have to reproduce 30 years from now or 40 years from now when that incident happens, to ensure that all that he or she has to do is to just send that and I should be able to credit her bank account with the proceeds of the benefit that the guy signed for. That's something that we are kind of trying working on. That's coming out of, again, listening to customers' expectations in terms of what they want to achieve. The other thing that we do out of customer expectations, not necessarily, is to be able to issue a policy across the counter. Yeah? So you come in and you apply for life insurance policy, I should be able to give it to you across the counter. I got a lot of resistance from my team which said, nobody wants a policy across the counter. Yeah? Because you bought it now, you think something will, nobody believes anything is going to happen to him for the next 4-5 years. Yeah? Whatever age he is in. 4-5 years, कुछ नहीं होगा. Yeah? भगवान की भला से कुछ नहीं होगा, भगवान की दुआ से कुछ नहीं होगा. But that is, not real any longer. So, if we are able to bring these elements into customer wants his complaints to be solved in, the changing. We say a customer sends a request, we solve that in a few hours, but a customer complaint gets solved in a few days. But the intensity of the complaint is always higher than the request, right? So, is there a way to make sure you can solve the complaint in 1 hour and maybe the request in 2 hours? So, those are things that we are trying to adapt to see whether we can bring about a change. But I must tell you, every 3 months it's very different, because the rate of pace, because all of us guys, once we are on Swiggy, Book My Show, Zomato, Uber, our experiences are governed by those, right? So if they can do it, why can't my financial services company do it? So as they get better, and my benchmark for the firm, for us, is the e-commerce world, because the e-commerce has everything. It has logistics, it has delivery, it has data analytics, it has real-time, what Alexa can't do, Amazon can, because when you go there, it says people like you also saw this. Or it shows you wherever you are, surfing in any other digital media, suddenly pops up and, is available for you on Amazon, because he's chasing you. Everywhere you open a site, he says cookies, you have no other option but to accept. Otherwise, not accepting and go to personal settings, it takes so much time, he said, chhod do yaar, accept karo. But that is how you are being tracked in the entire digital world, and that is a great example for financial services to be able to deliver to changing customer expectations.
Isn't Insurance Decon Policy Bazaar already doing that?
I don't think so. It is doing better than some of us, but the ability to be able to, so life insurance regulations are a little complicated. Only as an aggregator you are allowed to show comparisons. When I sell, can I show the comparison of my policy with HDFC Life? The regulator doesn't allow me to do so. Whereas an aggregator license can do that. So obviously his starting point is different, but of course he's done a reasonably good job. But he's still not Gen AI real time. He shows, again you are recording so I'm getting worried, he will prioritize also the list of policies based on also his commercial arrangement that he has, and not necessarily based on what is most appropriate for you. I mean, he does a good job at both of them, but yeah, economics matters, so it's not really fully like that.
Maybe 1 or 2 more questions.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, sir. I'm Arvind Pamaraju. I'm a first-year student. And well, firstly, I'd like to congratulate you on being the best life insurers of 25 in accordance with Fortune India.
Thank you.
And sir, I have a two-parter for you. So firstly, while I was doing some reading, I came across something called a fixed maturity plan launched by ABSLI. And I was hoping you could shed some light on the kind of innovation that goes behind something like that, and what you do to remain competitive and how it is perceived by the market as a whole. And the second part is, well, already when there's FDs and there's single premium models in the market, how do you position this as a better alternative?
So this is what I was telling Arun, that an FMP is a fixed maturity plan. It is exactly like a fixed deposit. Because I work for a bank, I bought the element of fixed deposit in an insurance policy. The problem with an insurance policy is the surrender value in the first few years is not very great. Okay? Whereas in a fixed deposit, whatever you pay, you will definitely get back. You may get lesser interest. And there are reasons why it happens like that. I'm not getting into the details. So we were the first guys who bought an FMP whose surrender value was 100% from day one. Because we had to sell a fixed deposit and not an insurance product. Yeah? Then of course, who will want to sell my fixed deposit? I had to go to banks. The problem with banks is they say, I have to sell my own fixed deposit, why will I sell yours? And we had to position it for banks to say, when you are losing your fixed deposit customer, then you can use mine. Because that time the fixed deposit rates used to be about 6.5%. And because we got the tax benefit, we were able to offer fixed deposit rates as high as say 8.5%, 9% with 10 times of your fixed deposit amount as life cover. So big banks that work with us used to sell that product when they were losing their fixed deposit to somebody who was paying a higher rate. So they did about 95% of their deposits with themselves, but 5% they would use us and make sure that they don't lose the fixed deposit. And for us it was an acquisition story. We were acquiring customers through that route, and if he bought that, I would sell him the normal insurance products later. I mean, that essentially was part of the plan. But like I said, the thinking comes from reaching out to customer segments. How do I reach out to SIP customers of mutual fund? Because SIP customers of mutual fund think about mutual fund, but the larger thought process in their mind is systematic investment. So if I am able to break into that systematic investment, then I may be able to get some customers from the cohort of mutual fund, because the cohorts of fixed deposits is very huge, SIP is very huge. So we are right now thinking of a product. In India, a lot of women buy gold with Tribhuvandas Bhimji Zaveri. You know why they buy gold like that? Because there is a scheme in Tribhuvandas Bhimji Zaveri which works like magic, which says that you pay whatever you have to pay in 11th installments, and Tribhuvandas Bhimji will pay the 12th one. Okay, at the price of gold that you have agreed on day 0, you will get delivery of the gold in month 12, but you pay for 11 and he pays the 12th. Financially, 1/12 is 8%. Yeah, so Tribhuvandas Bhimji has to generate 8% return on the first 11 to be able to make do with this, and hopefully not give any discount on say the gold making charges and so on and so forth, to make it viable for him. So we are now in works of a product like that, which you say if you do SIP with me for 5 years, every 11 months you will pay the SIP, the 12th SIP I will pay. Again next year you will pay the 11th, the 12th I will pay. Like that for 5 years, you will end up paying 60 minus 5, you will pay 55, I will pay 5. And we want to see whether we will be able to get capture of the SIP market of mutual fund. My mutual fund CEO does not like me for this product of mine, because we also run a Aditya Birla mutual fund company. But this is how you get, you got to look at customer segments. If your starting thinking point is insurance, then you'll always think insurance. If your starting thinking point is customer and the entire gamut of financial products, you will be able to create a new insurance product, hopefully meeting the requirement of that customer.
And just a follow-up. So when it was initially launched in 2022, and yes, and when it was, in the current scenario, so how did the consumer perception of the plan change exactly? Did you have to make any innovations for it? Do you plan to make any further?
So at our company, over the last 2-3 years, every year, we at least bring 5 new products, and we make at least 20 modifications to our existing products. And all of them have thinking process around what is right for that market at that point of time, what is the change, interest rate scenario, changing customer expectation that we need to do. And fortunately, regulators today in insurance, otherwise you have to first file all your products, get approval, and then only you can sell it. But half the product segment right now, you don't need to file, you can sell first and file later. So some of it has also got encouraged by some of these things that we do. But constantly tweaking, keeping an eye on competition, because you get a jump start for 6 months at best. But in 6 months, somebody will copy your product for sure. So when we design products, we design a new product and at least 3 more variations of that. But we launch only one, because we know competition will react. Okay? And hopeful, but we don't know what will they do. Okay? So in our thinking process, we think these 2-3 variants of this If competition reacts, we'll still stay up the curve for maybe instead of 6 months, 1 more year. All our products are designed like that. And whenever we get a competition response, that variant is ready, we kind of package it again and then again present it back. That's what we essentially do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you. I think we can go on and on, but I think because of time constraint, we should stop here and we'll take some questions later offline. Thank you very much, Kamlesh, because of whatever insights you shared with us. This has been incredibly valuable, and now I think let him also complete his. It's not on. Yeah.
On behalf of KJ Somaiya Institute of Management, I would like to invite Professor Brajesh Polia to present a scroll and express our gratitude.
So I have a privilege to read some beautiful lines, and I'm feeling privileged to Mr. Kamlesh Rao. With an engineering degree and a management skill, you built your path with vision and will. From trainee days to leadership high, your journey soared, reaching the sky. At Kotak Mahindra Bank, you made your mark, handling loans, investments, and growth from the start, rising quickly, leading the way, shaping strategies every day. At Kotak Securities, you took the lead, driving business with vision and speed. From retail growth to market trends, your leadership brought new gains. Now at Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance, you stand, guiding success with a steady hand, expanding digital, building trust, making the company strong and robust. Also at Insurance Awareness Council, you strive, helping life insurance reach more lives. A leader, a mentor, shaping the way, driving change every day. From all of us, that's a great session. Thank you so much.
I would also request Raman sir to join us on stage for a photograph. I request Ananya to come forward with the mug, which we would like you, sir, to sign as a memento for us. I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to Mr. Kamlesh Rao for gracing us with his presence today. Your journey and insights have been truly inspiring and invaluable. I extend my gratitude to Raman sir, who has always supported student initiatives despite his demanding schedule. Thank you, sir, for your presence. A sincere thank you to Arun sir for your invaluable contributions to the 7th edition of Careers in Conversations. Your insights have made this session truly remarkable. I also thank Brajesh sir, Arvind sir, Meenal ma'am, and the technical team and the support staff whose remarkable efforts have ensured the success of this event. Furthermore, I want to acknowledge the continuous support of the Marcom and PR committee and the alumni committee. To all the students and faculty present here, thank you for being such a wonderful audience. We will now stop the live stream. I would now request our faculty team to please come on stage for a